was that I've gained a lot in my personal and professional life by putting myself through a constant state of discomfort. And I've pushed myself into so many nerve-wracking experiences, and more often than not, I've usually achieved success on the other side. Well, not usually. For each unit of success, I have experienced more than 10 times more failures. And in a lot of these moments of discomfort, I would go to my dad and he would just make it worse by stretching that figure of 10 and say, 1,000 failures will lead to one success. Now, I take assurance in the fact that he hasn't done much statistical research in establishing that fact. But as an actor who has auditioned for jobs that offer less than 0.02% chance of selection, I think I do understand how to equip myself, not just for failures, but also how to reboot those failures to create tangential possibilities of success. Now, to witness such possibilities, what you have to do is build a series of good habits. And if you're able to manage to continuously maintain these habits in spite of streaks of successes, then you're pretty much sorted. You can just live your life on autopilot and be rest assured that you will reach all your destinations. The first habit is to constantly be receptive to knowledge, to be constantly alert, even to knowledge that does not really suit your interests, to not only be goal oriented in what you learn, but to also learn aimlessly without an end goal in mind. By being this person who's learning non-linearly, you are preventing yourself from living in a bubble. And the benefit of that is that even if you do live in a bubble, you are always equipped to find a new bubble when the previous one pops in the face of failure. Such knowledge, such tangential knowledge, helps you make a transition to another, to an alternative career path altogether. When you feel that your current dreams, your current path has been exhausted completely, you will always have that set of alternative skills that will allow you to take risks, and with risks come opportunities. So by just fearlessly acting on those opportunities, you will be able to find so many more possibilities that you would have never imagined. In fact, a lot of unexpected career switches and successes that you hear of have happened because the individuals were not only at the right place and at the right time, but also they were armed with skills that they just simply happened to have. Take an example of Gal Gadot. She was offered her first movie role after years and years of struggling as a model. But somewhere the fact that she had trained in the military just for about 2 years came in handy, because that role required her to be trained in combat. So a lot of these tiny experiences, maybe you're an investment banker who has a lot of random facts about football trivia, and you have a meeting with a client and you just chat up that football, it just happens to connect, and you are able to crack a deal that's probably better than what you would have if you were not connected. So all this extra knowledge of any kind never goes waste. You never know when, you have no idea when you end up using it. So just try to be as multidimensional as you can in what you learn. It'll help you stand out and seek opportunities in unexpected ways. So use this time to gain that knowledge. Now, another thing that I do a lot, and this is something that I actually discovered during the pandemic lockdown. It's borrowed from something called design thinking. If there are students in business, they might know of this concept. I've taken it towards my personal life as well, and not just limited it to work, where each week I dedicate the first half to behave like a divergent thinker and the second half behaving like a convergent. Now let me explain what it is. When you think divergently about something, you generate all possible wild ideas and options. Now, not all those ideas are great, but a lot of them can be very creative and just random and new, something that people have probably not heard of, unconventional ideas. And rather than thinking divergently about specific tasks at hand, if you just think creatively about every aspect of your life, from your ambitions or even tangential paths that you can take to achieve those dreams and ambitions, you can really after you cut through all of that daydreaming and thinking, you can really find those tiny sparks of ideas that may have some fire in them. But then that's not it. You can't really create a life out of this divergent thinking. What you also need to do then, somewhere in the middle of the week, switch your personality entirely and move to becoming a convergent thinker. This is when you take all those scattered ideas that you came up with in the first half of your week, where you've probably written them down. Maybe I usually even write down on walls, but you can just have them noted down somewhere. Those short sparks of inspiration that I spoke about, and then in the middle of the week, you you pick up those sparks which have potential and create fire. You're not only thinking of new ideas here, but you're polishing and structuring these ideas, and you're creating new possibilities which have lower odds of failure. Now, why dedicate separate days to these types of thinking? Why can't you just do it on the same day? Because if you do it on the same day, you risk landing into this average territory with average ideas. You don't want to combine them and strike a balance. What you have to do is live both the extremes in two separate days, two separate parts of weeks or even months, depending on the kind of planning you're doing about your life, and then implement them practically. So think wildly, but implement practically. Now, one underrated habit is the habit to travel well. It's not just for fun. If you engage with the surroundings and you're actually getting involved with the locals, it really teaches you how to open your eyes. You observe not just the scenery, but also the societal structures, the various conversational styles that people have, even the various kind of smiles people have. You unlock the sense of empathy, a skill for perceiving people's needs and motivations. And how this helps you in the workplace is that you're able to fine tune your communication, or you're even able to fine tune possible business opportunities that you would have otherwise not even thought of. Now, I'm not saying ruin your travel experience by thinking about work. No, just engage, be in the moment when you travel, and somewhere at the back of your mind, an idea might start brewing in the head. Who knows? Your next big business opportunity is in Tanzania, and you can't just find gold by just walking into the fields, right? You need to dig for it, and travel well, engage with the locals. It's as good as digging for gold. Now, the fourth habit is to constantly generate and maintain your weak networks and links. Now, this is something that a lot of speakers earlier have also mentioned. Your network really does count. But what I'm talking about is also the weak network, which simply means that you're not closing yourself to your innermost circle of friends. In fact, make a purposeful effort of hanging out with people that you don't necessarily relate to. It will expand your range and awareness of the world. See, we are all busy people, and right now, a lot of you are still in school, but as you begin your professional lives, life will only get busier. Don't get into this habit of limiting yourself to a single group. You have no idea that cousin of that distant friend's distant cousin that you probably met one time and found to be a little bit strange could be that person 5 years later guiding you to your dream college. But don't do this with that intention. It's kind of sleazy to build relationships and friendships uh, seeking some material end goal in mind. No, don't do that. Don't be that person. Instead, be genuinely curious about people's life. Help them out. Be there for others, and especially for those who are not related to you. It doesn't hurt to be a nicer person, but it actually opens up your world to possibilities that you have never ever thought that existed. This opening up of circles through the weak links can create opportunities like the ones that it created for me. I would have never, ever even dreamt of Miss India had it not been for a distant friend who ended up winning the competition. And I just, out of goodwill, shared some post, and it just so happens you never know when serendipity strikes. So just be nice, be curious about people's lives, and build a network wider than what your comfort zone allows you to. And you will just find the most unexpected help and advice in the most difficult times. The last and the most crucial habit is to spend time alone. Now, this is a tough one. It also sounds contradictory to a few of the things that I said. I mean, on one hand, I'm telling you to seek knowledge, and knowledge comes through social media as well. I'm telling you to build a network, and then I'm telling you to be alone. But this kind of alone is so important. It's the same as how I mentioned how you have to set time aside to be a convergent versus divergent thinker. Similarly, you have to set time aside where you stop all that inflow of information. You cut off all sorts of interaction, and you sit and spend some time alone, really alone, to organize everything that you've learned and to let the thoughts that you have developed over the time to marinate in a fruitful direction. It is then that you'll be able to find your innermost calling. Sitting alone is that one thing that you do when you sit with your thoughts until they start biting you. A lot of us live through our day without even realizing what we're thinking. But when you sit alone, without a cell phone, without a person, without even a book around, those 20 minutes of sitting alone can actually make you realize what your own predominant thoughts are. This will help you recalibrate not just what you want for success, but also what you want to do for success. And here, you won't be able to lie to yourself. Your best guidance that you receive is the guidance that comes from within. Some call it divine guidance, some call it willpower, some even call it fear and anxiety. But whatever it is, that voice is your most authentic self. It will be difficult at first, and you will have different stages of experiences. You will be confronted by your aspirations first, then with reality, then with the dread of the distance that you have to cover to convert those aspirations into reality. And then there will be a list of possible paths that you can choose in order to make those aspirations a reality. You'll choose the path and then you will be triggered into action. It's a long process, it doesn't happen in one sitting. But that action is how you will create change in your own life, in the work system, in your surroundings, and in the society at large. It all starts with beginning to sit alone. Over the time, trust me, you would make things happen simply because you were strong enough to confront your own mind when others were too weak to do so. So here we have these 5 habits. Develop them and then surrender your life to autopilot and then live life to the fullest. Be kind to yourself and to others. Be patient with the possibilities that you found. See, you don't have to act on these possibilities right away and pressurize yourself. It's even harder. And given the pandemic, there's just so much pressure where you're just constantly bombarded with people, with information of people being more and more productive, using their time for the best. It's a balance. Nothing happens in a day. It is so easy to get overwhelmed when you see these advertisements of 10-year-olds who are learning coding and starting their own company every single day. And then to make things worse, we have now created a Kid of the Year award as if that Forbes 30 under 30 list dream was not stressful enough. It is okay if you pilot a few opportunities and then crash land, as long as you decide to navigate to a newer possibility tomorrow. So build these habits, and that will create a system for you to reboot yourself in the face of failure. And then you can just lay low and just wait for serendipity to strike. You don't have to face yourself. You don't have to force yourself to create change. You'll automatically be driven to create it when the situation needs it. So let your failures be your compass to success. Just reboot how you see them, and then the world will fall into place, even through unprecedented times like these, the ones that we're living through right now. Trust me, it'll all get better.